Rich Dad, Poor Dad. 20. The mindsets that changes your life. Lesson 1. The rich do not work for money. Most of us grow up with a very familiar belief: study hard, get a stable job, earn a steady salary, and work diligently for the rest of your life. This is the path that the poor and the middle class usually follow. They work to receive money, and when the money runs out, they must keep working. Life becomes a tiring cycle. Go to work, get paid, spend money, worry, and then repeat. Robert Kiyosaki calls this the rat race. You run faster and faster, work harder and harder, but you stay in the same place. The rich think differently. They do not work for money. They work to learn how to create assets. For them, a job is not mainly about earning a high salary, but about understanding how money flows, how it is created, protected, and multiplied. They use intelligence, systems, and strategy to make money work for them, even while they sleep. Robert Kiyosaki himself is a living example of this lesson. When he was young, he worked as a pilot and earned a good income. But instead of being satisfied with a high salary, he realized a painful truth. If he stopped flying, the money stopped coming. So he did not focus on increasing his paycheck. He focused on building assets, rental real estate, businesses, and later, intellectual property. When Rich Dad, Poor Dad became a global phenomenon, his income no longer depended on daily work, but on the assets he had built years before. This does not mean that the rich do not work hard. In fact, they often work very hard, but they work for the future. They are willing to do work that does not pay immediately, as long as it helps them learn skills, gain experience, and build a strong foundation. So how can you apply this lesson in your own life? First, change the question in your mind. Instead of asking, "How much does this job pay?" ask, "What will this job teach me?" Are you learning sales, management, communication, investing, or system-building skills? If the answer is no, it may be time to rethink your direction. Second, start building assets, even very small ones. This could be a skill that earns money online, a content channel, a small business, or basic investment knowledge. Do not wait until you are rich to invest. Invest to become rich. Finally, remember this: money is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. When you work for money, money controls your life. But when you learn to control money, you regain freedom. Freedom of time, freedom of choice, and freedom over your life. The first lesson of Rich Dad. Poor Dad is not really about money. It is about changing your mindset from the beginning. Because when your mindset changes, the path you walk changes as well. And that is the true starting point of financial freedom. Lesson 2. Understand the difference between assets and liabilities. In Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki emphasizes that if there is only one lesson about money you must understand for the rest of your life, it is the difference between assets and liabilities. It sounds simple, yet this misunderstanding is the reason millions of people work their entire lives and still never escape financial struggle. According to Kiyosaki, an asset is something that puts money into your pocket, while a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. No complicated theories. No academic definitions. Just one question: does money flow in or flow out? The answer tells you everything. Most poor and middle-class people believe they are buying assets, but in reality, they are accumulating liabilities. A new car, a bigger house, expensive electronics. These things create a feeling of success, security, and happiness. But month after month, they quietly pull money out of their pockets through loan payments, maintenance, taxes, and living expenses. They work harder, not to become richer, but to support the liabilities they own. The rich do the opposite. They buy assets first, and only later use the income from those assets to buy the things they want. This single habit creates a massive financial gap over time. While the poor use their salary to spend, the rich use assets to generate cash flow. Robert Kiyosaki's own life is a powerful example of this lesson. When he was young, he did not chase luxury or a higher lifestyle. Instead, he focused on acquiring rental real estate, building businesses, and developing intellectual assets. These assets continued to produce income even when he was not actively working. When Rich Dad, Poor Dad became a global bestseller, the book itself turned into an asset, generating income for him year after year. The truth is simple. The rich are not smarter than you. They just understood assets earlier than you did. So how can you apply this lesson in your own life? First, change the way you look at money. Before buying anything, ask yourself, after I buy this, will it put money into my pocket every month or take money out? If it only takes money out, be honest, it's a liability. That does not mean it is bad, but do not lie to yourself. Second, start building even the smallest assets possible. This could be a skill that creates extra income, a content channel, a small business, or basic investment knowledge. Assets do not have to be big, but they must produce cash flow. Finally, remember this. The rich do not wait until they have a lot of money to buy assets. They buy assets so they can have more money. When you truly understand and live by this lesson, your financial path begins to change slowly, steadily, and powerfully. And that is exactly how wealth is built, one small decision at a time. Lesson 3. Your house is not always an asset. One of the most controversial lessons in Rich Dad, Poor Dad is this statement: your house is not an asset. When people hear this, they feel shocked, even offended. For most of their lives, they have been taught that owning a home is the biggest asset they will ever have. Society repeats it. Parents repeat it. Banks repeat it. But Robert Kiyosaki asks us to stop, breathe, and look at one thing only: cash flow. According to Kiyosaki's definition, an asset is something that puts money into your pocket, and a liability is something that takes money out. If your house does not generate income, but instead requires monthly mortgage payments, maintenance, insurance, repairs, and taxes, then no matter how beautiful it is not an asset in cash flow terms. It is a liability. This does not mean owning a home is wrong. It means calling it an asset without understanding its financial impact is dangerous. Most middle-class families fall into the same trap. As soon as their income increases, they buy a bigger house. With that house come bigger loans, higher expenses, and more financial pressure. They feel proud, but at the same time, they become more dependent on their job. Missing a few paychecks suddenly becomes terrifying. The house they believed would give them security actually takes away their freedom. The rich think differently. They first buy income-producing real estate, rental properties, apartments, or commercial buildings. These properties put money into their pockets every month. Only after their assets are strong enough do they consider buying a personal home, often using the cash flow from their investments to pay for it. In other words, their assets buy their house, not their salary. Robert Kiyosaki followed this principle in his own life. Instead of using his income to buy a dream home early on, he focused on acquiring rental properties. These properties generated steady cash flow, even when he was not working. Over time, his financial foundation became so strong that owning a personal home was no longer a burden. It was a choice. His lifestyle was supported by assets, not by his labor. This lesson is not about rejecting comfort or family life. It is about timing and priorities. The poor and middle class often buy liabilities first and hope their future income will save them. The rich buy assets first and let those assets pay for their lifestyle. So how can you apply this lesson in your own life? First, be honest with yourself. Ask one simple question. Does my house put money into my pocket or take money out? There is no shame in the answer. Awareness is the first step to change. Second, shift your focus toward income-generating assets. You do not need to start big. It could be a small rental property, a shared investment, or even learning about real estate and cash flow before buying anything. Finally, remember this powerful idea. Financial freedom is not about owning things, it is about owning cash flow. A big house may impress others, but cash flow gives you peace of mind, options, and control over your time. When you understand Lesson 3 deeply, you stop chasing the illusion of wealth and start building the reality of it. Lesson 4. School does not teach you about money. One of the most uncomfortable truths in Rich Dad, Poor Dad is this: school does not teach you how money really works. From a young age, we are taught to study hard, get good grades, earn degrees, and find a secure job. Education promises safety. It promises stability. But what it rarely teaches is how to manage money, grow money, or make money work for you. Schools are excellent at training people to become good employees. They teach obedience to systems, how to follow instructions, meet deadlines, and specialize in one skill. These are valuable abilities, but they are not financial education. As a result, many people graduate with high degrees, impressive titles, and good salaries, yet remain financially stressed, living paycheck to paycheck. Robert Kiyosaki often points out that intelligence alone does not create wealth. Some of the smartest people in the world struggle financially, while others with average academic performance build great fortunes. The difference is not IQ, it is financial literacy. Kiyosaki's Rich Dad understood this early. Instead of telling him to study harder to get better grades, Rich Dad taught him how businesses operate, how investments generate income, how taxes work, and why cash flow matters more than salary. Meanwhile, his Poor Dad, a highly educated man with a stable government job, believed that education and job security were the safest paths in life. Both men were intelligent, but they played two very different financial games. This gap in education explains why many people earn more money as they grow older, yet feel more trapped. As income increases, expenses rise even faster. Bigger houses, nicer cars, better lifestyles, all financed by debt. Without financial education, higher income often leads to higher pressure, not freedom. The rich understand something schools rarely teach. Money follows rules, and those rules can be learned. They study accounting to read numbers, investing to understand risk, business to build systems, and tax laws to legally protect their wealth. They do not rely on luck. They rely on knowledge. So how can you apply this lesson in your own life? First, accept responsibility for your financial education. Do not wait for schools, employers, or governments to teach you. Read books, watch lectures, listen to experienced investors, and study how money moves in the real world. Second, Start with the basics. Learn the difference between assets and liabilities. Understand cash flow, and track where your money actually goes each month. Awareness is more powerful than motivation. Finally, remember this truth. Job security is an illusion in a changing world. Skills, knowledge, and financial intelligence are your real safety net. When you understand money, you are no longer afraid of losing a job because you know how to create value anywhere. Lesson 4 reminds us that education is important, but financial education is essential. Without it, even a successful career can become a financial prison. With it, even small beginnings can grow into lasting freedom. Lesson 5. High income does not mean you are rich. One of the biggest financial illusions in modern society is the belief that earning more money means becoming rich. Many people spend their entire lives chasing higher salaries, promotions, and better titles, believing that once they earn enough, financial problems will disappear. But Robert Kiyosaki exposes a painful truth. Income and wealth are not the same thing. Around the world, there are doctors, lawyers, executives, and celebrities who earn enormous incomes, yet live under constant financial stress. They have expensive homes, luxury cars, private schools, and high lifestyles. On the surface, they look successful. But behind the scenes, many are trapped by debt, pressure, and fear of losing their income. If their paycheck stops, their entire lifestyle collapses. Why does this happen? Because income alone does not create wealth. Wealth is built from assets, not salaries. When income rises but spending rises faster, people become richer in appearance but poorer in reality. More money simply means bigger bills. Robert Kiyosaki saw this clearly through his two fathers. His poor dad earned a respectable salary and believed that working harder and earning more was the solution to financial problems. But despite promotions and raises, financial stress never truly disappeared. Rich Dad, on the other hand, focused on acquiring assets. He understood that a steady paycheck is fragile, but cash flow from assets creates stability. Kiyosaki himself followed this lesson. Instead of chasing higher income, he focused on building systems and investments that produced income without his constant effort. Over time, his wealth grew, not because he earned more, but because his assets multiplied. The lesson is simple but powerful. It's not how much you make, it's how much you keep, and how hard your money works for you. To apply this lesson, stop asking how to earn more, and start asking how to build assets. Control lifestyle inflation. Let your income grow your investments, not your expenses. True wealth is quiet, patient, and built over time. Lesson 6. The rich buy assets. First, the poor buy liabilities. First, one habit separates the rich from everyone else more clearly than almost anything else: what they buy first. When poor and middle-class people receive more money, their first instinct is to upgrade their lifestyle. A nicer car, a bigger house, better clothes, new gadgets. These purchases feel like rewards for hard work, but financially, they are liabilities. They take money out every month and create long-term pressure. The rich do the opposite. When they earn money, they buy assets first. They delay pleasure. They postpone comfort. Instead of asking, "What can I buy?" they ask, "What can I invest in?" This is not about sacrifice. It is about strategy. Robert Kiyosaki explains that the rich allow their assets to pay for their lifestyle. A rental property buys the car. A business pays for the vacation. Investments fund the house. The poor use their salary to buy everything. while the rich use cash flow. This habit compounds over time. Month by month, year by year, assets grow stronger and generate more income. Eventually, lifestyle expenses become small compared to asset income. At that point, money stress disappears. Kiyosaki practiced this principle early in life. While others spent their income, he reinvested it. While others upgraded comfort, he upgraded cash flow. That patience created freedom later. To apply this lesson, reverse the order of your spending. Before buying anything new, ask, does this grow my income or reduce it? Build assets first. Let time work in your favor. Wealth is not built by what you show. It is built by what you keep and grow quietly. Lesson 7. Fear and desire control most people's financial lives. Robert Kiyosaki teaches that fear and desire are the invisible forces controlling most financial decisions. Fear of losing money keeps people stuck in jobs they hate. Fear of failure stops them from investing or starting a business. At the same time, desire, the desire for comfort, status, and approval, pushes people to spend more than they should. Together, fear and desire create the perfect trap. People fear being poor, so they work harder. They earn more, then desire more. Bigger houses, better cars, higher lifestyles. To support that lifestyle, fear returns. Fear of losing the job. Fear of missing a paycheck. The cycle repeats. The rich experience the same emotions, but they respond differently. Instead of running from fear, they study it. Instead of chasing desire, they control it. They understand that emotions are signals, not commands. Rich Dad taught Kiyosaki that fear is not the enemy. Ignorance is. When you understand money, fear loses its power. When you know how investments work, risk becomes manageable. When you understand cash flow, uncertainty becomes opportunity. Kiyosaki himself faced fear many times: business failures, criticism, financial risk. But each time, he chose learning over comfort. That decision made all the difference. To apply this lesson, start observing your emotions around money. When fear appears, ask what you need to learn. When desire pushes you to spend, pause and think long-term. Financial freedom begins when you control money emotionally, not emotionally controlled by money. Lesson 8. Risk is a teacher, not an enemy. Most people spend their lives trying to avoid risk. They want certainty, security, guarantees. They want to know the outcome before they begin. And because of that, they never begin. Robert Kiyosaki teaches a powerful truth. Risk is not something to run from. It is something to learn from. The poor and the middle class are trained to fear mistakes. In school, mistakes are punished. Failure is embarrassing. Being wrong means you are not smart enough. Over time, this fear becomes deeply rooted. When money is involved, fear becomes even stronger. People say, "I can't afford to lose." So they do nothing. And by doing nothing, they lose the most valuable thing of all: time and opportunity. The rich understand that every successful investor, entrepreneur, and leader has failed many times. Failure is not a sign of weakness. It is tuition. It is the price of real-world education. Robert Kiyosaki himself failed repeatedly in business before achieving financial freedom. He lost money. He made bad decisions. But instead of quitting, he studied his mistakes. Each failure taught him something no book or classroom ever could. That learning became the foundation of his success. The lesson is clear. Those who avoid risk remain average. Those who learn from risk grow powerful. To apply this lesson, stop asking, "What if I fail?" Start asking, "What will this teach me?" Start small, learn, adjust, grow. Risk handled with education becomes opportunity. Lesson 9. Intelligence solves problems. Fear creates them. When faced with a financial problem, most people react emotionally. They panic. They complain. They blame the economy, the government, or bad luck. The rich react differently. They think. Robert Kiyosaki often says, "It's not money that solves problems. It's intelligence." When money is tight, the poor say, "I can't afford it." The rich ask, "How can I afford it?" That single difference changes everything. Saying, "I can't afford it," shuts down the brain. It ends the conversation. Asking, "How can I afford it?" forces the mind to work. It opens creativity, strategy, and learning. Throughout his journey, Kiyosaki used problems as training tools. When deals didn't work, he didn't give up. He improved his financial intelligence. He learned accounting, investing, business law, and tax strategies. Not to become an expert on paper, but to become stronger in real life. The rich know that problems never disappear. They evolve. The question is not whether you will face problems, but whether you are becoming smarter than your problems. To apply this lesson, stop avoiding challenges. When money problems appear, don't complain. Learn. Read more. Ask better questions. Improve your financial vocabulary. Intelligence compounds faster than money ever will. Lesson 10. Ask better questions. That's how wealth is created. Your financial future is shaped by the questions you ask yourself every day. Most people ask small questions. How much does it cost? Can I afford this? What if it doesn't work? The rich ask powerful questions. How can I make this an asset? How can this generate cash flow? How can this work for me long term? Robert Kiyosaki explains that questions guide the brain. Poor questions lead to small thinking. Powerful questions create new paths. When Rich Dad wanted something, he didn't ask whether it was possible. He asked how to make it possible. That mindset led him to solutions others never saw. Kiyosaki used this approach to build wealth through real estate and business. Instead of waiting for permission or perfect conditions, he trained himself to think like an owner, not an employee. Owners solve problems. Employees wait for instructions. To apply this lesson, change your inner dialogue. When fear appears, replace it with curiosity. When doubt shows up, replace it with strategy. Lesson 11. Learn to master money before it masters. Most people spend their entire lives working for money, yet very few ever truly learn how to manage it. They earn, spend, worry, and repeat. Money becomes the boss. Fear becomes the motivator. And freedom slowly disappears. Robert Kiyosaki teaches that money itself is not the problem. The problem is the lack of financial mastery. When people do not understand money, they become controlled by it. They stay in jobs they dislike because they fear bills. They avoid opportunities because they fear loss. They make emotional decisions instead of strategic ones. Money becomes a source of stress instead of a tool. Rich Dad believed that mastering money starts with discipline and education. He taught Kiyosaki to observe cash flow, not just income. He explained that it is not how much money you make, but how well you manage it. Two people can earn the same salary. One becomes wealthy, the other stays trapped. The difference is control. Kiyosaki learned to delay gratification. Instead of spending extra income, he invested it. Instead of chasing comfort, he chased understanding. Over time, money stopped controlling his decisions. Knowledge did. To apply this lesson, start treating money as a subject to study, not something to fear. Track your cash flow. Understand where your money goes. Learn to make money obey your plan instead of your emotions. Master money, or it will master you. Lesson 12. The rich focus on skills, not job titles. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing that a prestigious job title equals financial security. Society rewards status, degrees, and positions. But the rich know a deeper truth. Skills create income, not titles. Robert Kiyosaki warns that people who specialize too narrowly often become fragile. When the job disappears, the income disappears with it. But people with diverse skills can adapt anywhere. Rich Dad encouraged learning skills that transfer across industries: sales, communication, leadership, negotiation, accounting, and investing. These skills create value in any economy. They allow you to build businesses, manage people, and create opportunities. Kiyosaki himself did not succeed because of academic excellence. He succeeded because he developed real-world skills. He learned how to sell ideas, raise capital, structure deals, and communicate vision. These abilities mattered more than any degree. To apply this lesson, invest in skills that increase your value, not just your resume. Learn how to sell, how to communicate clearly, and how to understand numbers. Skills stay with you for life. Titles do not. Lesson 13. The rich use leverage, time, people, and systems. The rich do not build wealth alone. They understand the power of leverage. Leverage means using something beyond your own effort to multiply results. The poor trade time for money. The rich use time, people, systems, and capital to scale income. Robert Kiyosaki explains that employees are limited by hours. Owners are not. A system can work 24 hours a day. People can operate businesses simultaneously. Money can generate more money. Kiyosaki built wealth by creating systems, businesses, investments, and intellectual property that continued working without his constant presence. His book became a system. His brand became leverage. To apply this lesson, stop asking how to work harder. Ask how to work smarter. Build systems. Collaborate. Learn how to let assets and people multiply your effort. Lesson 14. Taxes reward the financially intelligent. Most people believe taxes are unavoidable and unfair. They work hard, earn money, and watch a large portion disappear before it ever reaches their hands. Many accept this as normal life. The rich do not. Robert Kiyosaki teaches that tax laws are not written to punish the rich. They are written to reward those who understand them. Governments use tax systems to encourage certain behaviors: investing, creating jobs, building businesses, and taking financial risk. The rich learn these rules. The poor and middle class never do. Employees earn money first, then pay taxes. Business owners and investors earn money, invest, and then pay taxes on what remains. This single difference changes everything. Kiyosaki learned from Rich Dad that taxes are a cost of ignorance, not success. Instead of complaining, the rich study tax law. They use legal structures, businesses, and investments to protect income. This is not cheating. It is playing by the rules intelligently. Robert Kiyosaki built wealth not only by earning money, but by keeping more of it legally. His businesses and investments allowed him to reinvest pre-tax income, accelerating growth. To apply this lesson, stop seeing taxes as punishment. Start seeing them as a subject to learn. Study basic tax concepts. Understand how businesses and investments are treated differently. Financial intelligence is the strongest tax shelter of all. Lesson 15. Pay yourself. First one of the simplest yet most powerful habits of the rich is this. They pay themselves first. Most people do the opposite. They pay bills, rent, loans, and expenses first. Whatever is left, if anything, goes to savings or investing. Usually, nothing is left. The rich reverse this order. Robert Kiyosaki explains that paying yourself first means committing to building assets before lifestyle. It forces discipline. It creates pressure. But productive pressure. When you pay yourself first, you invest before you spend. You learn to control expenses instead of increasing them. You train yourself to solve problems rather than escape them. Kiyosaki practiced this habit early. He set aside money for investments before paying bills. This forced him to become smarter, more creative, and more disciplined. Over time, assets grew. Pressure decreased. Freedom increased. To apply this lesson, start small. Automatically invest a portion of every income. Treat it as non-negotiable. Let discomfort train your intelligence. Wealth grows where discipline lives. Lesson 16. Money amplifies who you already are. Money does not change people. It reveals them. Robert Kiyosaki teaches that money is a magnifier. If someone is greedy, money makes them greedier. If someone is fearful, money makes them more afraid. If someone is generous and disciplined, money amplifies those qualities too. This is why many people become worse when they earn more. Without character and education, more money leads to more problems, more debt, more stress, more poor decisions. Kiyosaki observed this repeatedly. People believed money would fix their lives. Instead, it exposed weaknesses they never addressed. The rich focus on personal development as much as financial growth. They understand that who you become matters more than what you earn. To apply this lesson, work on yourself before chasing money. Build discipline, patience, and learning habits. Money in the hands of the unprepared is dangerous. Money in the hands of the educated becomes freedom. Lesson 17. Work to learn, not just to earn. Most people choose jobs based on salary alone. The rich choose jobs based on what they will learn. Robert Kiyosaki explains that working only for money keeps you trapped. Working to learn builds long-term power. Rich Dad encouraged learning multiple skills: sales, leadership, accounting, communication, and investing. Each skill strengthened Kiyosaki's ability to create value. Over time, income followed naturally. Kiyosaki took jobs that taught him, even if they paid less. He treated work as training, not survival. That mindset created independence. To apply this lesson, stop asking only what a job pays. Ask what it teaches. Build skill stacks. Learn how systems work. Learn how people think. Lesson 18. The rich create opportunities. They don't wait for them. One of the most powerful shifts in mindset taught in Rich Dad. Poor Dad is this. The rich do not wait for opportunities. They create them. While most people spend their lives hoping for better conditions, better jobs, better pay, better timing, the rich move forward regardless of conditions. They understand that opportunity is not something you find. It is something you build. The poor and the middle class are trained to wait. They wait for permission. They wait for certainty. They wait for someone else to show them the way. They believe opportunity exists only when the economy is strong, when the market is safe, or when someone gives them a chance. As a result, years pass. Dreams fade. and potential is never fully realized. Robert Kiyosaki teaches that this waiting mindset is one of the greatest obstacles to financial freedom. The rich see the same world as everyone else, but they interpret it differently. Where others see risk, they see information. Where others see chaos, they see patterns. Where others say, "This is too dangerous," the rich ask, "What do I need to learn to make this work?" Opportunity begins in the mind. Kiyosaki learned this lesson early from his rich dad. Instead of teaching him to search for secure employment, Rich Dad trained him to think like an owner. Owners don't wait for job openings. They create businesses. They don't wait for raises. They create systems. They don't wait for permission. They solve problems. When markets crash, the poor panic. The rich prepare. When prices fall, the poor freeze. The rich analyze. When others quit, the rich step forward. This does not mean the rich are reckless. It means they are educated and decisive. Throughout his career, Robert Kiyosaki repeatedly created opportunity where others saw none. When traditional employment failed to excite him, he created businesses. When he lacked money, he focused on acquiring knowledge. When publishers rejected his ideas, he self-published. When critics attacked him, he built a brand. Rich Dad, Poor Dad itself is a perfect example of opportunity creation. The book was rejected by major publishers. Instead of giving up, Kiyosaki chose to distribute it independently. He believed in the message more than the approval of gatekeepers. That decision transformed the book into one of the most influential financial education tools in the world. Opportunity favors those who act before they feel ready. Most people say, "I'll start when I have more money." The rich say, "I'll start so I can create money." Most people say, "I need more confidence." The rich say, "Confidence comes from doing." This lesson is uncomfortable because it removes excuses. It forces responsibility. If opportunities are created, then waiting becomes a choice, not a limitation. So how can you apply this lesson in your own life? First, stop waiting for perfect conditions. Perfect timing does not exist. Clarity comes from action, not thinking. Start where you are, with what you know, and improve as you go. Second, train yourself to see problems as opportunities. Every problem in the world represents unmet demand. Businesses are born from inefficiencies. Wealth flows to those who provide solutions. Ask yourself, what problem do people complain about every day? That complaint is a potential opportunity. Third, invest in learning instead of certainty. The rich do not wait to feel safe. They learn until risk becomes manageable. Read books. Study markets. Learn from people who are doing what you want to do. Knowledge turns fear into strategy. Fourth, build the habit of taking small, intelligent risks. Opportunity creation does not require reckless leaps. It requires consistent action, small investments, small experiments, small failures. Each step builds confidence and clarity. Finally, accept this truth. Opportunity rewards courage, not comfort. Waiting feels safe. Staying where you are feels familiar. But growth lives outside comfort. The rich understand that uncertainty is not something to avoid, it is something to master. Lesson 18 teaches us that wealth is not reserved for the lucky. It is built by those who refuse to wait, who choose to act, and who believe that learning is more powerful than fear. When you stop waiting for opportunity and start creating it, you move from survival to ownership, from hope to control, from dreaming to building. And that is where real financial freedom begins. Lesson 19: Don't chase safety. Chase financial intelligence. One of the deepest beliefs planted in most people's minds from childhood is this: safety is the goal. Find a safe job. Choose a safe path. Avoid mistakes. Don't take risks. Don't fail. Society praises safety. Parents want it for their children. Schools are built around it. Employers sell it. Governments promise it. But in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki delivers a message that feels uncomfortable, even frightening at first. Chasing safety too hard is one of the most dangerous financial decisions you can make. The poor and the middle class often organize their entire lives around the idea of security. They choose careers based on stability rather than growth. They stay in jobs they dislike because the paycheck feels safe. They avoid investing because losing money feels unsafe. Ironically, this obsession with safety creates a fragile life, one dependent on a single source of income. One job, one salary, one system. If that system fails, everything collapses. Kiyosaki explains that this is not true safety. It is dependence disguised as security. True safety does not come from a job. True safety comes from financial intelligence. Financial intelligence is the ability to adapt when conditions change. It is the ability to create income in different environments. It is knowing how to generate value, solve problems, and build assets regardless of economic cycles. Robert Kiyosaki learned this lesson by observing his two fathers. His poor dad valued job security above all else. He believed loyalty and hard work would protect him. When financial pressure came, his options were limited. His income was fixed. His flexibility was low. Rich Dad believed the opposite. He believed safety came from skills, systems, and mindset. He prepared for change instead of fearing it. When one plan failed, he created another. When markets shifted, he adjusted. The world does not reward those who cling to certainty. It rewards those who can learn, adapt, and move forward. Kiyosaki often reminds readers that the economy is constantly changing. Technology replaces jobs. Industries disappear. Companies rise and fall. In such a world, job security is an illusion. The only thing that remains valuable is your ability to think, learn, and act. This is why many highly educated people struggle financially. They were trained to follow instructions, not to adapt. They were trained to avoid mistakes, not to learn from them. When the rules change, they feel lost. The rich train themselves differently. They expect change. They expect problems. They expect uncertainty. And because they expect it, they prepare for it. This does not mean the rich are careless. It means they separate reckless risk from intelligent risk. Intelligent risk is taken with education, preparation, and awareness. It is not gambling. It is calculated growth. Kiyosaki himself faced enormous uncertainty throughout his journey. He left stable employment. He built businesses that failed. He faced criticism, rejection, and financial loss. But each challenge increased his financial intelligence. Over time, uncertainty stopped feeling like danger and started feeling like opportunity. That is the power of learning. So how can you apply Lesson 19 in your own life? First, question the idea of safety. Ask yourself honestly, if my primary income disappeared tomorrow, how prepared would I be? This is not meant to create fear, but awareness. Second, start building multiple sources of value. This does not mean multiple jobs. It means multiple skills, assets, and systems. Learn how money works. Learn how businesses operate. Learn how investments generate cash flow. Third, Practice becoming comfortable with discomfort. Growth is uncomfortable by nature. The ability to stay calm while learning something new is a financial skill. Fourth, shift your identity. Stop seeing yourself only as an employee or worker. Start seeing yourself as a problem solver and value creator. Value creators are always needed, in every economy. Finally, understand this powerful truth. Safety is not the absence of risk. Safety is the ability to handle risk. Those who chase safety often give up freedom. Those who chase financial intelligence gain options. Lesson 19 teaches us that the goal is not a protected life. It is a capable life. A life where you are not afraid of change because you know you can adapt. A life where money is not a source of panic because you understand how to create it. When you stop chasing safety and start building intelligence, you stop living defensively and start living deliberately. And that is when fear loses its power and freedom begins. Lesson 20. Financial freedom begins with mindset. If there is one final lesson that ties everything in Rich Dad, Poor Dad together, it is this. Financial freedom does not begin with money. It begins with mindset. Most people believe wealth is something external. They think it starts with a higher salary, a lucky break, a good economy, or the right opportunity. But Robert Kiyosaki shows us that none of those things matter if the way you think about money never changes. Without the right mindset, more money only creates bigger problems. With the right mindset, even small beginnings can grow into lasting freedom. Throughout the book, Kiyosaki contrasts two mindsets. The poor and middle class often think defensively. They focus on avoiding loss, staying safe, and protecting what little they have. Their decisions are driven by fear. Fear of failure, fear of mistakes, fear of being judged. This mindset keeps them stuck in survival mode. The rich think offensively. They focus on learning, growth, and creation. Their decisions are driven by curiosity and long-term vision. They understand that mistakes are part of the process, not signs of weakness. This mindset puts them on a path of expansion instead of limitation. Mindset determines how you see opportunity. It determines how you respond to fear. It determines whether you give up or move forward. Robert Kiyosaki's own life is proof of this truth. He did not start wealthy. He did not rely on perfect timing or special privileges. What he had was a willingness to think differently. While others asked for security, he asked for education. While others avoided risk, he studied it. While others waited for permission, he took responsibility. That mindset shaped every decision he made. When his businesses failed, he did not see himself as a failure. He saw himself as a student. When he lost money, he did not panic. He analyzed. When he was criticized, he did not retreat. He refined his message. This is the mindset of financial freedom. Financial freedom is not about never working. It is about having choice. Choice over your time. Choice over your income. Choice over your direction in life. And choice only exists when you are no longer mentally trapped by fear and false beliefs about money. One of the most damaging beliefs people carry is, "I'm not good with money." This is not a fact. It is a story. And stories can be rewritten. The rich replace limiting beliefs with empowering ones. Instead of, "I can't afford it," they ask, "How can I afford it?" Instead of, "I'm bad at money," they say, "I'm learning." Instead of, "It's too risky," they ask, "What do I need to know?" Every one of these questions strengthens the mind. To apply Lesson 20, the first step is awareness. Start paying attention to your inner dialogue about money. Notice when fear speaks. Notice when excuses appear. Awareness breaks unconscious patterns. The second step is education. Mindset alone is not enough. It must be supported by knowledge. Learn about assets, cash flow, investing, taxes, and systems. Knowledge gives your mindset direction and power. The third step is action. Mindset is shaped by experience. Take small, intentional steps. Build something. Invest in learning. Make mistakes. Reflect. Improve. Each action reinforces a mindset of growth instead of fear. The fourth step is patience. Financial freedom is not built overnight. It is built quietly, consistently, and intentionally. The rich understand the power of compounding, not just of money, but of thinking. Over time, the way you think becomes the way you live. Lesson 20 reminds us that money is only a tool. The real transformation happens internally. When your mindset shifts from scarcity to possibility, from fear to learning, from consumption to creation, your financial life begins to change naturally. In the end, Rich Dad, Poor Dad is not a book about getting rich quickly. It is a book about becoming the kind of person who can handle wealth wisely. Because when your mindset is free, your choices are free. And when your choices are free, your life becomes free. That is the true meaning of financial freedom. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The story, the success, and the philosophy of Robert Kiyosaki. Introduction, a book that changed how the world thinks about money. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is not just a book about money. It is a book about how people think about life